1. Hello, welcome to the Wargaming. Oh, I didn't hit record. Hold on, let me do it again. Hello, welcome to the Wargaming. I'm your host, Rob, the leader of the Jam Gang, and joined by my chief Jamral. That didn't work. Like Jamander, also didn't work. John Scrivens. Hey, John, how are you?
I'm actually more of a marmalade kind of guy.
Marmalade?
I know that's quite a revolutionary statement to make, but yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Not ginger. Ginger can go in the bin. Ginger marmalade is not the one.
I haven't tried that yet. Fear factor high. I'll let you guys in on what that means in a moment. Big shout out to Randy in the chat and everyone who's joined us live in the chat. Masaifa, Randy, Gitley, what up? Chris Rocks, T-Man Cash, hope you're all well. Thanks for joining us. Oh, Time Bones, thanks for subscribing as well. That's really nice of you. Big love. Undead Ben, how the Bloodthirster's going. We were meant to have a special guest on today. The lovely Simon Hall, but he is a very busy man. He works a very big, long job. Big, long job. That is me watching the debate last night and not learning how to use words and speak English properly, John. He works at an important job. He's a lovely man, and so he was a bit too tired today. And so that's fine. So instead, we're just going to hang out and paint and talk to the wonderful chat, which I'm super okay with. John, how do you feel about that?
I'm all right with that, because they are my kin. I'm normally sat in there with them going, let's annoy Rob. Let's see what I can write to make him kind of distracted whilst he's trying to talk to someone.
Exactly.
So much fun.
Rob Kelly in the chat said, a jam marmalade schism. Can we not fight like this, John? Can we not fight like this? Is that okay? T-Man Cash built 20 Necron Warriors last night. That's pretty cool. Congrats. I didn't do any hobby last night at all. After I did the show, I just went home. Oh no, that's not true. I have built my Squigoth.
Oh, nice.
I built my Squigoth, and I used okay, I'm going to say some words now.
You can do this. I believe in you.
I used some filler. Probably not that. Model filler, hole filler,
like green stuff type stuff.
Yeah, it's just called model filler, and I just wanged it in there. And then the problem is, because it didn't really fit together particularly well at all, to be honest. Like, pretty bad. And then I banged it in the holes, and then I just kind of like dabbed it with my thumb. And then I was like, oh, how much effort? Because you know when you watch guys online and they spend like 20 minutes like green stuff in, like, because I'll have to across, because it's specifically they join at like the leg, and I'll have to green stuff from scales. I can't green stuff scales. Are you mad? It's like top level shit. So I've just filled it a bit, and it looks like someone has just madly filled a gap with some filler. So it doesn't look great, but it's better than having a hole, I guess. You got any thoughts on that?
I'm currently green stuffing Captain Marvel's shoulders because I'm incapable of gluing figures together correctly. So
really?
I feel your pain. Yeah, they're really nice models. These are. Just to frame it for the chat. Last time I was on the show, I did say I would commit to buying and learning the Marvel game, Marvel Crisis Protocol, to show you Rob how to play it. So I started building the figures, and apparently I'm not as good at building models when they're a little bit thinner than an orc boy. And they're little, teeny little legs and arms. I'm just like, okay, I'm just going to use my fat thumbs on these. So
that's how I felt about building Necromunda models. I'm still painting, as you guys can see. I'm doing some Custodes, and I'm giving them little grey booties, which honestly is just far more effort than I really feel I should go on these guys. But I'm doing it anyway. Screw it. I'm not comparison. This guy, who you guys can see, just like almost no effort. I don't know why. I've decided that these bikes are going to get so much more detail than the rest of the army, John. But whatever. It's going to be fine. I'm okay with it. But I'm looking forward to getting them finished. I don't think it'll take me overly long today. I might just finish them off today. TBH. That might be my thing. Just get them out and done, because I'm looking forward to painting up my Squigoth.
Yeah, it's just nice to get things tabletop, right? Because then you can always go back and touch them up again.
No one, narrator, he never, ever did. Can I just ask how everyone in the chat is? And thanks for joining me. Apparently a lot of the MCP stuff has some serious gaps, John.
Yeah, so
it does.
It's not just me, but it's one of those things where you expect it with some models, and they are nice models, so I don't mind having to do a bit of cleanup on them. So, especially when I get to build lampposts.
Do you not think that we should be beyond that in 2020? I just mean as a quality review is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, so I expect it because I can remember when figures were just horrendously shit resin figures. Yeah, that was meant to be an upgrade for metal figures. So
that's true. I read about
only a couple of years ago.
You're right. No, you're right. I remember like reading about how we all used to have to give our crowns to the local sheriff, so that he wouldn't like kick us off the land. But thankfully, we've moved beyond those stages now, and so it's better.
Yeah, I suppose so. When you put it like that, I agree.
Hey to Will Dockerell in the chat. Big love to Will. Jens Morgan, hope you're well. What's going on? Gitley, I wrote a full bike white scars list yesterday. It was so awesome. Nice. I finished gap filling the dragon for D&D next week. Oh, nice. Some D&D models getting painted. There's some. It'd be fun playing some D&D with some models. I think that's one of the things that I don't get about D&D is I need there to be something in front of me to see. But that's a me thing. Absolutely makes me a moron. It's not anyone else.
Well, for combat, it can really help because the combat is very much a squares. You're kind of, whether you're in range and stuff. So having a map or even the miniatures does really help with that, I found. But that's also because I'm a very visual person that I like to be able to go, right, I'm that far away.
So. That makes sense. Been playing loads of 40k Crusade games from that guy, 46.2, says been racking up insane amounts of XP by auto-passing morale tests on my MSU Ultramarines. Is he like ganking? Is he like ganking the stats?
Well, that just means that all of his units are going to be bloodied or higher now, so they can actually have loads of cool extra abilities. Like one of them is you can auto-pass morale and Overwatch on a 5-up, I think, which was the one that I looked at and went, oh dear God.
Okay. Okay. Like a computer game, I guess.
Yeah.
Where you level
up. You get these cool bits, but they're not.
Can you do that before you? Can you do that before you go play someone else?
So the system for the XP, every time a unit levels up a level and gains something, they get something called a crusade point. So, for example, if it's leveled up and gained 1 level of XP, got a relic and a warlord trait, that unit it costs 3 command point, 3 crusade points. So if your armies say got 7 more crusade points than your opponent, they start with 7 extra CP.
Okay.
As a way of balancing it. So the short and fast of it is you probably still will lose if you've got less experience, but the CP and the strats might help. I don't think it will.
Oh, okay. That's interesting. I'm not. Well, I say it's interesting. I don't think I'm overly.
It's not to you.
Yeah.
That's right. So I played a Crusade game last night.
Gitley asked if I'm feeling any better this week. I am feeling a little bit better, thank you. Gitley, I was bedridden pretty much Tuesday, Wednesday. Tuesday, Wednesday, is that right? What day are we on? When I did the show this morning? Yesterday. Yeah, Tuesday, Wednesday. I was still feeling pretty rough yesterday. I maybe am feeling a bit rough today, but that's because I stayed up super late. So not 100%. Not 100%, but getting better. Thank you, Gitley. A lot better than I was the other day. I had the old fop sweat. It could just be because I'm going on the menopause, John. Maybe it explains my whole attitude.
Well, I learned my entire understanding of the menopause from American TV programs. So I think it might be that purely for the fact that it's normally resolved within an episode, though.
Yeah, that's true. I watched Fleabag last night to sort myself out. That got me on point. DJ Batman, thanks for subscribing. What up? Thanks to everyone who's subscribed and joined us live. You guys are all obviously lush. Halalex, thanks for also subscribing, Camonin, and Skinny Boots, and Pusher77 TV. It's actually, tomorrow we were going to do our little birthday stream, but it's our 3rd birthday this week. We've been going we've been going for 3 years. Which is pretty exciting. John's been there since the beginning. John,
I can remember your test stream. It's certainly better. Is there still a hole in the ceiling?
There still is, but it's a new building, but still a hole.
Yeah. Well, there we go. At least things are consistent.
Yeah. You knew there's a hole though. But yeah, we've done all right in 3 years, I think. Made the Honest Wargaming website. That's pretty cool. I've actually got some stuff to send you about that for taking some factions off. Hashtag Tomb Kings. I'm so sorry. Sorry, Randy. They've got to go. Are we going to have an army paint to give away? I'm afraid we can't do that. We've got nothing to give away. I could give away this paintbrush, which is pretty scuffed. It's a Citadel layer
dried
medium.
out green stuff. This is dried out. You can use it if you like. You can have it. I just tried to use it. I probably shouldn't. And then we've done the Super Series stuff. We've done a lot of coverage. I think we've done all right. Did some good reviews. Happy with them. We've had highs and we've had lows, and it's been a journey. And I think that's the most. I was thinking about this on my walk to work today. Actually, if I'm allowed to say this, Go for it.
It's not about hobby. Is that it feels like a lifestyle, maybe not like a lifestyle. What's the right word? What am I trying to say? One of the cool things it feels like is that it's been like a journey, and then there's been a bunch of people who've been on that journey with us, and that's why things like Twitter sometimes are a bad medium for me to communicate in, because I sometimes forget that people haven't listened to literally hundreds of hours of of us covering a subject or talking about something. What do? We talked to. We did the show on Monday about the priority roll, not priority roll, about our favourite rules. And I was like, we're not even having a conversation. I'm not even giving airtime. I've spent enough of my life talking about the priority roll. I never need to have that conversation one more time in my life. Not one. Go find it in the show notes somewhere. In the past. I'm not doing it. But my point is, because then it becomes like a bit of an in-joke, everything. And I worry about blocking new people out. I don't want that to be the case. But the jam gang thing. I got some new jam yesterday, and the guys here at the venue were like, "Why do people send you jam?" And I was like, "It's quite complicated." But basically, I don't think there's anything weird about eating jam sandwiches, and apparently Twitch chat think there's something hilarious about eating jam sandwiches. So now it's a thing. But my point is, in a grander scale, is that there are loads of stories, and I think it's just really nice that everyone is on a journey together. And you get to know people, really. I don't know what I'm trying to say. I just think it's nice, that's what I'm trying to say, and I've enjoyed it.
But me 3 years ago is a very different Scrivo, let's put it that way. And I think it's changes for the better. I got back into the hobby and was very quiet when playing against people I didn't know. I was completely out of my comfort zone going to an event, and now I'd have to bite your hand off if you said, "Here's a ticket to an event." So it's complete changes like that. If someone's being a bit of a jerk as a result of seeing kind of the better practices and everyone kind of sort of saying, "No, this isn't cool. If this guy's a Winterval cosplayer, don't tolerate that." I've kind of been like that in my local community as well. So it's kind of encouraged me to be the best me, which I think is kind of a positive.
Oh, that's nice. Well, you were already a great you when we started out, so I don't think that makes it any worse.
Just polishing a turd, mate.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I had some big news this morning. Ugly Tom is running a league for us.
Ugly Tom is running a league? What's he running a league of?
So we're playing 40k, and basically everyone has to play everyone, but it'll be 2 points for a win, 1 for a draw, and nothing for a loss. And it's basically, we're just going to play each other a lot because that's the only kind of competitive play we're going to get.
Ugly Tom. That's outrageous. Yeah,
right?
It's so funny that we've even got some 40k size mats now at the venue, some boards, and I as you know, I painted up my whole Skaven army. I'm super hyped to be playing some games, and I'm like, I guess it's going to wait 2 months, I guess, because in Nottingham you're not even allowed to meet random people, I guess, unless someone moves in with me, which I'm tempted.
Yeah, see, I'm quite lucky. Being in only tier 1, I can still see 6 people. I can be in a group of 6 people.
Okay. Oh, you're still in tier 1?
Yeah, we're still down the... Because we're in this belt around the edge of London that basically rich people live in. We're allowed to have lives. I think there seems to be this kind of thing where if there's wealth around an area, it seems to kind of be that sort of situation.
John, you far left extremist. How dare you?
I'm following where the money trail is.
Servitor Chris, we can still meet outside, which means # we should meet outside sometime soon. Big shout out to Gen 1 Smorgan. What do you think of the Warhammer World mats? Says Pete. Yeah, have you seen those? Should we describe them to people quickly? Warhammer World have done a 6x4 mat, but then they've printed a 40k size mat on it.
Yes.
Is that right?
With a skull in the middle of that mat. So if you're trying to then play a game and it's defining everything from that center point, there's actually something to help with that, which I just was blown away that they'd thought that through. So it's obviously celebrations to Steve Wren, because obviously it's, by the looks of it, his project as the events manager at Warhammer World, right?
Yeah. Steve Wren's a stone cold badass.
Yeah. So you got to celebrate the successes, and I think it's unfortunate for them because that obviously probably was something that they were putting together way before Nottingham got put down into stricter lockdown conditions. So it was going to happen anyway, the mats. So they're going, yeah, we're launching this, and then a week later, sorry guys, you can only come and play with your mum or your wife.
It's fascinating because what are they going to do? Because obviously, Lord of the Rings still played on 6x4? You assume. So if you guys aren't aware, 6x4, 6x4, you guys are aware. Like if you're listening to this, you're deep into Warhammer. You're not new. Anyway, but you've got 6x4 mat, and then 40k changed to 60x40 size mat inches. As suggested, but it's the only thing people play on, so it's going to be. And then Age of Sigmar is going to go the same way. Interested to see if Lord of the Rings also goes the same way as well, because obviously that's the other system.
But I guess for them, there's not as much of an issue if you've got a massive 40k Realm of Battle board covered table. To switch that, if you're then having to do an event, to just an Age of Sigmar mat over, even just putting it on top of the other mat, it's quite a quick one, right?
Okay. Yeah.
So rather than having to take off 6 tiles worth of Realm of Battle and find somewhere to store it, they can just roll up the mats and switch them out. So even if it stays as 6 foot by 4 foot for Age of Sigmar, it's not a big ask for them because physically the tables are that size, right?
Yeah. I think it's interesting. Has anyone got a link to the Warhammer World mats? There's Age of Sigmar. There's some pictures, but I don't think there's anything like. Also, big shout out to Seb in the chat. Also to Trelly Rure for joining us, and Hawkeye. I see you. And yeah, Nottingham will be going to tier 3 next week, which means you can only stick to your household, John. So my household of 1 is I'm gonna have the best time.
You can form a bubble with another household because you live on your own.
I refuse. I'm not joining. I'm not being the boy in the bubble. I'm out. I'm out of that. Fine. I'm not being stuck in a bubble. Anyway, how do I convince my wife to play with me? It's a great question. And I would like to ask all of you, which family member would you like? Not like obviously you've got your wife, that's important.
Yeah.
Or your husband, depending on who you are. But my question is, which family member? Oh no, yeah. I'm going to ask them in order. First one, which family member would you like to play Warhammer with most if you could convince them? That's the question to everyone.
I can't answer this question because that's a cheat.
Why? Who would you like it to be?
Because I got into Warhammer because my dad was playing Warhammer, and he still has 2 armies. So,
okay. So you want to play with your dad?
Yeah, because it'd be awesome.
Could you say that so I could clip it?
No, because you said enough about struggling with something, and then you put your thumb in, and like what? You got to fill a hole. You just put your thumb in, and it was just like, what, Rob? Why are you saying these things?
So big shout out to Ziggy in the chat. Love seeing you. Cinderfall Gaming, also big love to you. He says, my wife comes and plays on the channel. So yeah, Cinderfall Gaming, if you go check him out, he does bat reps with his wife.
Yes.
A few people do. Rure would like to play with his girlfriend. No jokes there, Rure.
But is he on about Warhammer?
See, I said no jokes. Let's not do that.
Sorry.
I think, would playing with your girlfriend be the dream? I think that'd be quite fun.
It depending on your relationship, it can be quite tough. Because, for example, Scrivlet, this time last year, got into the hobby, was really keen, and then realised that she's quite a sore loser. And if she gets frustrated at losing, or if she can't build something, she just loses her temper and just goes, nah, fuck this.
So one of the good things about Warhammer, you do learn to be a better loser.
Yeah. Well, some people do. I've still got some local players that just cannot have a bad roll, they'll
and they're
still
ugly.
be a sulky little bitch, and it's so funny because it's just like, oh, they're crying that they've managed to only roll 2 2s, and now there's me just like, all of my dice are misses. It's fine because I'm getting stomped, but I'm having a great time. Here's a beer, cool.
Okay, well that's okay.
Yeah.
Draconda says I'm lucky. My brother already plays Warhammer. My boyfriend plays Warhammer too. Oh man, you are lucky. That's great. Hellstorm down, hell yeah. Sorry, those guys. I play with my wife all day. She's a great board game player, but finds Warhammer too complicated, says Marcus Rock. You do have to invest a lot. Like, when I did the Necron list show last night with the guys, I was like, fuck, like, this is embarrassing. Like, you have to do so much prep work. And also, without Battlescribe, I'm not doing it. I'm out. Rabid Bunny 66 says, my girlfriend has to look at the pile of grey plastic in the living room. If she played, that might actually get painted. Good plan. Honestly, on a day I want to play with the kids. I think everyone would like to play with their kids, right? Again, don't clip that. Would like to play Warhammer with their kids.
Yes, thank you. You have to clarify everything these days.
Yeah, you do. T-Man Cash says my frequent opponent is my 8-year-old son, hence why I built 20 Necrons last night. Chris says my wife won't play with me at Warhammer, I assume. We can play computer games together now. I want to beat her on the table, says Ray. Finta says, if you don't want to form a bubble, you could just play with yourself, Rob. Appreciate that, thank you. I'm just busy right now dealing with my upcoming Jam YouTube channel, basically.
Only jams?
Only jams. Which I thought, cleverly, I could also mix in with DJing when DJing's back in the thing, and I could, like, do jam-based DJing, and it'd still be only jams. Anyway, no one laughed at that, so that's fine. If you're going to be that way.
Oh, well. Could be worse.
I play Bolt Action against my wife, but I think Warhammer is a bit too much down the nerd hole for us, says Pete the Wargamer. It's interesting, right? Like, what do you think it is that, like, puts off partners?
I think it's the depth required for it. Even just the basics of the rules. When you look at actually what there is mechanically to just play the game, it's a lot. It's overwhelming. That's why something like board games can be a little bit gentler, and they've got potentially a shorter time frame to be played in as well.
Yeah, I guess so.
My mum's never got into it, but you get the board game Flamme Rouge, which is a cycling game, because it's quite a simple mechanic, but you can feel very invested in it quite quickly. She wanted to play a whole season of the game, which she never did with any war games.
Fair enough. Yeah, okay.
So I think sometimes it is just that it's that step too far, perhaps, on that you look at it and go, this is a rule book, and it's a big hardcover book that looks so big.
Yeah, I guess so. But I see something like that and I think, oh, tasty. I can't wait to read that. That looks super fun. I remember poring over the Warhammer Fantasy Battle 8th edition book, rule book, just like constantly, like reading all the articles. I just thought it was really, really good. Hey, Didrin, I hope you're well.
Diachasm. I can't wait to pre-order that game.
Musaka Koala says, the missus comes to events with me. Is it a pub or hotel and usually brings a friend? I don't think she will ever play. But see, that's still nice that you can bring your hey.com, you big nerd. My wife has shown a lot of interest and likes that I'm invested in the hobby, but going to start off with Warcry and slow roll into AOS, says Freaks and Deeks. Also, Dayton, who's on the show, one of the co-contributors to the show, his missus is super into Warcry, and she now, you can follow her on Twitter. She is getting into building her first Age of Sigmar army as well. So, like, it's nice. I guess it's interesting to me to like have something that you're so passionate about. Well, that said, my ex really didn't give a shit about my gaming at all. So I just never.
And that's also fine though.
Yeah, I guess
there is a balance to it that it's nice to have your own thing still.
Yeah, that's true.
Also, you got to find. You don't have to share everything.
Also, you got to find your aesthetic as well. Like the thing that you like. Like we're all different, right? We all like different models and we like different like looks. And 40k has a very specific aesthetic, and Age of Sigmar does as well. Like I saw some, I guess low fantasy or whatever. Like Age of Sigmar being high fantasy. I saw some low fantasy stuff the other day. It was just like a regular human with like a wizardy hat and some potions as a model, and I was like, yes. Like it was like. Age of Sigmar's got its own style, which I think is really good. Like when you see new Age of Sigmar models, you think, yeah, That's Age of Sigmar all day. They look fantastic.
They're bonkers normally, aren't they? They go to a little bit more crazy. Yeah.
Yeah, but sometimes you just kind of want old school wizards and knights and stuff. Do you know what I mean? Anyway, does anyone find Rob's giant hands on Sully?
It's like playing, Smash Brothers. There's the boss level where it's just two hands and gloves. That's what it's making me think of now.
Restev says your ex gave no shit about your hobby. How many shits do you give about hers? I'm super interested in other people's hobbies, because it's what people. When people are passionate about something, I'm passionate about them being passionate about it. I think that's always nice. Right. So my follow up. Wait, Vengeance for Sylvania makes a point. So this has already been said, but I'm sure ladies are far less drawn to war or battles. In my view, this is why the world would be better with more female leaders, but why wargaming will always be predominantly male. Okay, interesting point. Also, big shout out to Jacinda all day long, Auntie Cindy. So my question to everyone: who would you play Warhammer with? No, okay. Which famous person, one famous person, alive or dead, would you play Warhammer with? What army would you like to play? What would you like them to play? That is the question to everyone. John, I'll give you a minute to think about it.
I've got the answer. I was waiting for you.
Oh, cool. Okay, you've got the answer already.
Mine would be Robin Williams, and I'd insist he'd play his Eldar, and I would play whatever he wants me to play, because it would just be such a laugh. Because I heard tales of him basically doing all the voices, and I just think I'd be giggling the whole time, and it wouldn't matter what I was playing, because I'd just be too busy giggling.
Okay, all right, fair enough. So you just basically want a personal one-on-one comedy show with Robin Williams?
With some Warhammer adjacently to us. I like all my hobby adjacent to whatever I'm doing.
Interested. Thank you to T-Man Cash, by the way. Sorry, Milky Badger for subscribing. Anti-winning. He said, menopause and snooker, these are the greatest topics. Thanks. DJ Batman, also thanks for subscribing. Love Boomer Bob. Keen to see more of his jams. Appreciate that also. I do have, not to spoil the Honest Wargaming show, I do have a full-length Only Jams video coming out very soon. It's my first jam review, which I'll announce that later. I don't want to know. The guys in the chat, Rura, because he's an angel, says Rob Symes as Orcs versus my Death Guard. Now that's just lovely. And thank you. Stephen Hawking playing Change Host says Kirsty.
Just as intended.
Okay. Morgan Freeman playing Seraphon. It would be like the hero face bullshit and interested listen. That would be true. Oh, I wish I could do it a Morgan Freeman voice. That would be so good. Robin Williams, anything versus his Eldar. Preciptor said the same thing as you.
Yeah, because it's just sounds so homely and just like fun. Because at the end of the day, the hobby's meant to be fun, right?
It is. Gandhi says Gitley. Gitley has chosen Gandhi, and I'd get him to play Korn, and I'd play anything else. Okay. Al Pacino, he could be Death Allegiance, and I'd be Sylvaneth. That's fun. I need to fight Hitler and playing Death Corps Krieg. Oh my god. Gabe versus a former German leader would be hardcore as fuck. That would be probably too hardcore.
At least you'd get a better painting score than him.
Oh, Tory Rob would have to play his idol Thatcher. Yeah. Sure thing. Snooker will never not be funny. I agree. Yeah, Adolf or Stalin would be interesting. I think that's strong. Versus Rick Mail, both as orcs. That'd be great. Rick Mail's hilarious. Age Summer, Henry Cavill's Custodies, then take pics and send to my wife. It's pretty bold. Andre the Giant, and he has to play Gargants versus some Chaos Dwarves.
Oh, jeez.
Oh, I would. I don't know if you guys know, and this is going to be a bit non-safe for work, so I apologise. Before we get,
I'll cover my ears then.
Yeah, before. It's me too. I don't know if you guys saw a very famous Reddit thread. You can just Google it. Reddit, man with two dicks. I don't know if you guys ever saw that. But you can. He's a real human being with two functioning peni. I think that's the plural of penis. I'm not really sure. I don't really ask when I'm down at the docks what the plural is. But I would like him to play Slanesh. right? But just dressed normally. Just me and him playing at a table, and someone coming over and be like, "Why is this your dream game, Rob?" And I'm like, "Doesn't matter. Like, only I know, like, that it's weird and kinky." Does that make sense? Is that too far? Does that make it weird? Have I made it weird?
You always make it weird, Rob.
That's
what we're all here for, just to watch you just make things weird. And then go, right, new topic.
That's not that weird. Big shout out to John Paul Weir over on Facebook. I hope you're well. There must be a fetish where you can get crushed by Darren Watson while he calls you lovely. I think that's absolutely true, as he regales you with goat stories.
Oh my God, did he... Goats, those timid goats that he's got in his garden right now.
Yeah. So a wrestler called Samoa Joe pretty much helped put together the Carcadrons. I'd love to play his army. That's interesting. That's a Carl Pilkington answer, Rob. Appreciate that. That's nothing but a compliment. I can't, right now I'll play against anyone. The other person who I'd play against, he's not a real person if I'm allowed to, is Hal from Malcolm in the Middle. You know, the dad?
Yeah.
Because he's hilarious.
And he also can cook crystal meth.
No, that's a different one. Yeah, no, I wouldn't want to play.
Same actor.
But I don't want to play Bryan Cranston. I want to play Hal because he gets really emotionally invested way too far. I think that would work. All right. Well, that was a fun little side journey that I wasn't expecting to take. But good question, John. Good question. I'm going to keep painting because I stopped doing that to talk. I do wonder sometimes with the podcast guys, they must be like, "What the fuck are we going to listen to today?" It's like rolling a dice. The Alex War Game a mixtape. Yesterday's show, Sam Morgan nails some really hot stuff, some really interesting thoughts. I really enjoyed it. Today, this. We were going to have Simon on though. To be fair,
yeah,
that was going to be fun. That was going to be super fun.
Yeah. Instead, you stuck with me.
So anyway, John, what's in the starter box for Marvel Crisis Protocol? Tell us about it.
So you get 5 heroes, 5 villains, and you get a load of terrain, including a magazine shop, the Daily Bugle. So there you go. You get these nice little square buildings. It's meant to be played on a 4x4, and this weird thing, the company sell 4x4 mats for the game, so you can buy them just from them rather than having to go to a third party.
Stop it. They also put out a ban list.
It's I'm blown away. So I've held fire on buying this game for a year because I was just like, cool. A lot of the time, these sorts of licensed games just run out of steam. The company end up running out of money. They overstretch themselves. These guys seem to have actually got their head around how to run a games company and focus on the product. Because from what I can see, they only have the one game. They're just going mad on it. Like the amount of releases they've churned out in the last 12 months is cool.
And it's also for the IP and the franchise, you talk about Warhammer, but Marvel's pretty fucking massive. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
And you're a big Marvel fan, aren't you?
If you have to pick Marvel or DC, I'd be the Marvel guy, and that's what kind of got me into the kind of concept with it. Because before this, there was
anime? Why haven't you chosen that? Why are you being so European centrist on your comics, John?
Well, it's not European centrist if it's an American company, Rob. Well done. If I was going to be European centric, I'd be like Asterix.
It's inherent in the joke, John. It's inherent in the joke. For God's sakes. I tried the Marvel games as T-Man Cash, and I found the movement and rules a little too abstract.
Yeah. So my concern is I played a lot of WizKids games about 20 years ago. I did a game called HeroClix. I played it quite competitively, and it was great. But the biggest thing that let it down was the figures were basically really shit, really bad painted stuff, and it was just literally you looked at it and go, well, someone's just blotted some eyes on that. It's a hand painted model, apparently. There we go, great. But it was a great mechanical game, and it was a bit more board gamey because it had squares, and it was all it was good fun. And the mechanic was all the stats were on the base, and as things took damage, their stats changed. So it had some nice interactions there, like things could get better, like the way that the War Scroll sheets in Age of Sigmar go. Where some things do get better. It had that kind of mechanic to it, but it got a bit bloated. This kind of looks like it's a step in the right direction for me, but we'll have to see.
Okay. All right. Milky Badger, thanks for subscribing. I just saw that. I called that out. In Nottingham, there is a ship that only sells Tintin stuff. A ship? A shop. He's correct. Yeah. It blows my mind that it even exists. If that blows your mind, on the high street on the high street, we have a bead shop, exclusively sells beads. I'm like, how's that alive in the economy? Beads.
In London, there's a Moomin shop, which is just an official licensed Moomin's materials and items.
But Moomin's, like, that's in London as well. You know, a lot of traffic. I know what he's talking about with the Tintin shop as well. Like, and the
Tintin's
guy in there
in loads of the cities.
The guys,
they've got them in most cities now. The Tintin one, which is weird because how can you buy that much Tintin stuff? My mum buys a lot of Snowy stuff. She loves that dog from Tintin, but
the windows though, they're really clean all the time, and I think, it'd be cool if you tinted them.
Oh, jeez. I thought you were going to say it would be great if I could lick them, because that's the sort of guy you are, right, Rob? You're a window licker.
Wait, the Preceptor says the rate of Crisis releases, talking about Marvel Crisis Protocol, reminds me of a little of X-Wing. Hopefully it doesn't become bloated like that did. I feel like it has to, right?
But it also adds, because of the way it seems to work, that you, to some extent, because from what I've read of the rules, because I've not read it fully, everything's got a threat value. So, like, say, for example, Captain America's 3. If you were playing a 20-threat game, you've only got so many models you could squeeze in. So if they need to adjust those points, they can. But normally I imagine you're like, oh, right, this guy's 3 threat, and I don't want to play him. I'll get this one off the shelf that's also that value. You can just switch a character out. Whilst X-Wing was very much, you were building around the cards as well.
Oh, yeah, X-Wing was like,
stuff. It was just...
X-Wing was like... I watched a couple of videos once. I was like, nah, not for me. Also, like, it was a lot like the models weren't a big deal. Whereas I think the nice thing about Marvel Crisis Protocol, at least to me as a casual observer, is the models are the important part. Like, and also the setting. I think the setting's really good. They've done a great job of like building the environment that you're gonna like play in. And actually, I'm super jonesed about this. If anyone's,
I can throw at people.
If anyone's been listening to any of the shows consecutively recently, like you've heard how much I'm super jonesed on 40k terrain. Obviously, the Age of Sigmar terrain that we had done for the Super Series was mental good. It's just so pretty, but it's also so functional. And so now I'm just I'm almost at the stage of refusing to play 40k until so tomorrow I'm chopping up all my MDF bases. I say I'm doing it. Fish is doing it. As all my MDF planks to start to build my terrain up from. I've got my milli put in. I've got my extra stuff for building. So I'm very, very excited about womping that together and starting to build it. But I'm it's because the setting is super important to me. I feel like settings aren't. Yeah. I feel like sometimes we don't play games on in a setting. We just kind of play them in these null spaces, which does detract from the game for me.
If it's just always a bunch of ruins, mostly MDF stuff that's not even painted, you think it takes you out of the game, sort of the immersion element of it a little bit, which I do find kind of sad at times. And that was one thing I liked about some of the events I've been to. If they really pushed their quality of their terrain, it encouraged me to do the same when I went home. So when we went to Capital City Bloodbath, seeing all the tables looking so fantastic, I just went, I need to be playing like that. I couldn't just go, right, here's some 40k ruins, that'll do.
Yes, CCB terrain was absolutely 11 out of 10. That was excellent. Again, that's the Canhammer guys who run Capital City Bloodbath, and the coverage we did there, and it was really good experience personally. The Frothy Cat says the worst bit about Marvel Crisis Protocol for me was the community seems to side-eye anyone that wants to get too creative and paint their models non-canon. Is that a thing?
I imagine so, because people get really funny about even people oh, this I've painted Gazgul and I've not painted in black. People get a little bit funny with that because there is some understanding, I suppose, that he would be wearing goth colours. But I can imagine people get really funny going, that's not the right, that should be Captain America, should be that kind of blue, not that slightly greeny blue. That's just unacceptable. And it will be just stupid, really. I might just paint mine all really stupid colours just to annoy people. And if they say anything about, well, I've coloured the Punisher, so you can all get fucked.
Wait, the Punisher normally wears black clothes, right?
Yeah, black with white boots, which is really stealthy.
Well,
with a giant skull on his chest, yeah.
Yeah, why can't you just do him in yellow or something? Like he's just paint him up like a Boogaloo Boy. Obviously I advocate for the Boogaloo Boys. They're a horrific organisation.
What I might do is, with my Daredevil, I might paint him in his original colours, which are basically bright yellow and red, and it looks god-awful, and it'll really upset people.
Okay, nice. Trelly says, I recently invested in a 3D printer and built a chaos-themed world. Was great to get immersed in something other than ruins. Trelly, yes, you are absolutely. We're on the same page. This is where I'm at now. Like, I also think 3D printers are gonna like change the game in a big way. Like,
yeah,
a big way.
I'm about to source several hundred tires that are probably going to be 3D printed.
Oh yeah, for you're building. Me and John are also building boards. We're both building boards for the 40k Super Series. Little side note that we're going to be definitely be doing that. So we're like John's doing one board, I'm doing the other board, and it's going to be really exciting. Have you got like a backstory yet? Have you written your back? Because so one of the things I've like for the Games Workshop model designers at least is normally they have like some story, and then they start to build the models like and design them, if that makes sense. Like and just start doing sketches. Have you done anything like that for created story first or not really?
I've started to flesh out the basics of it. So I've got the idea that there is basically a big mech and it's his garage, but also as a result of the garage being kind of about the vehicles, there is essentially a racetrack going through the entire board.
Okay. It's going to be fun.
So it's going to be lots of terrain that kind of leans into the Formula One sort of style of things, but with an orky spin on it.
Okay. All right, that sounds really fun.
And there's going to be sponsorship.
Oh, really? You can do sponsors on it? Oh, that's
there's going to be the Honest Wargamer rings adverts on one of the banners. That was the one decision that's been made that Wallace went, you have to do that now, even though it was just a joke. And I was like, oh, great.
Please do a Demon World board so I can legit argue I must always play on that board says on Dead Ben. I think I'd like to do a Demon board because it's obviously cross-system as well. Demon board seems like the easiest plan. I also like the idea of
really weird stuff as well. Depending on which god. Depending on which god, it could be really like you could have a big like schism kind of crevice through the planet if it was a Slanesh board, and that'd be a bit odd.
I like the idea of I like the idea of Morkster energy. Nice. Yes, Lou Diamonds. Yes.
Stealing that one.
Yeah, Morkster energy. I like the idea of doing billboards. I think that comes to life. Remember when we did some TTS Necromunda? Not Necromunda, Kill Team.
Kill Team,
yes. And there were some billboards. I was like, this is one of the things that's like, you know, when they do ruins, I'm like, where's the billboard? Like human societies are always covered in like signs and
exactly.
like if it's not advertising, it's something else traditionally. Like, and there's never anything like that. I want like one of the boards I'm doing is meant to be like a Titan, not graveyard because that's wrong. Like kind of like a mining camp, but it's more like a salvage wreckers kind of place. If that makes sense.
Mm. And in Star Wars.
Yeah, exactly like that. Exactly. Yeah. So where they're I was just trying to think of a much better reference, but I guess
that's why I referenced it, just because
that's a good one. You know, like a Titan Knacker's Yard, basically. I don't know if that translates to international listeners. In the UK, Knacker's Yard is where you would send loads of like broken down machinery or like stuff that was like basically a tip, but not quite a tip.
Scrapyard.
Yeah, which is why the term like I'm knackered it comes from that.
Oh, is that where it's from?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. Mine's basically Gorka board, though.
Yes. Yeah. A junkyard. Yeah, thank you. Yeah. I don't think people say, I'm really junked today, though, do they? That doesn't work. It's not quite the same.
No, because that gives different connotations, because there's normally junk in the trunk means something else, right?
It means the best thing. Sounds like that one place in the Gaunt's Ghost books where they're breaking down all the wrecked Chaos vehicles. Yeah, something like that. Can orcs read? I think they can, so maybe they can. They can.
If they believe enough, they'll just be like, I'm reading that. That's what I wanted to say.
Sorry again, says the board I was wanting to make was a crashed spaceship. Problem is, all 40k ships are far too big. Even the smallest Cobra is the size of a room. Yeah, but you don't have to do all the ship. Do you? You could have it. What I always thought would be fun is like you could do the crash ship over 2 boards. Does that make sense? Like broken up.
So it's half of it covers part of it, and then because the internals of the ship can become their own kind of area, terrain, walls, you name it. Because they're essentially a superstructure, aren't they? So.
Yeah, effectively. And then you could have like the most telling bit, which is like the engines and the cells and stuff at the back, and then maybe like weapons and kind of the prow of the ship on the other board, and you kind of break it up like that. That would look really cool. I just think The real meaning of the word knackered does in fact pertain to one's junk. Oh, nice. We've all learned today. That's fun. But yeah, I think that I know that some events, and shout them out in the chat right now if you've got an opportunity. If there's anyone you'd like to mention in particular, some events have some outstanding terrain. I think it's just the time and investiture it takes to create them, because then you want to do a demon world, you kind of want to do a Necron tomb world. I'd really like to do like a Blade Runner style, like sci-fi hab center sort of thing. That would be really
like a
fun.
Hive City almost.
Yeah, I'd like to go a bit Fifth Element on it. Do you know what I mean?
Nice.
Yeah, something like that. A bit Luc Besson would be fun. So I'd like to do something like that at some point. But I think it's a very exciting kind of prospect, being able to be given the tools. But I've always, before it's always been like, just buy some terrain. But now with the map packs, I super hope Age of Sigmar has some map packs, John. Like I am. Like I don't know if you know, but with Gargants, you're able to smash terrain. It turns into keyword rubble, but that's not a thing in Age of Sigmar at the minute, which probably indicates we're going to get the same sort of scenery keywords in this that we had in the new Age of Sigmar as we've got in 40k, and that's actually super exciting. I'm actually like, if you ask me like what do I love most about 40k at the minute, like 9th, it's the terrain. Like I'm like really into it. Really into it. Like, and I haven't shut up about it for months. Like, I'm sure you're aware. Yeah, that's probably where as well. Shut up, Rob.
I listened to the show several times, Rob. Remember, because I have to listen to it back to make sure that the podcast sounds all right.
Apologies. Can you explain what makes map packs so good as someone who hasn't been following 40k? Well, the important part for me, Draconda, now this is just my opinion on why I think it's really, really good, is it creates like a stable game set. So, if I was playing on a map pack and then I was talking to Nick or Tom or John, I was like, we were playing this particular mission. You're like, I've got that in my head. But, but then we were also playing this map pack. You can picture especially for 40k, because in 40k now, you've just got this bit that's just like blocking line of sight, and that's great, because you can just hide some dudes behind it. So when you're looking at it, or when your friend's looking at it so you can show them, or whatever the case may be, it's more interactive, whereas in Age of Sigmar, like, it's always random, and it's always just a thing, and so it isn't as impactful, which means it almost doesn't need to be there, but that's not the case, because sometimes it's really impactful, because someone teleports halfway up a wall, or they fly their ship and it's halfway on top of some trees, or some nonsense. Like, the terrain, the models and terrain interaction in Age of Sigmar is actually really poor. It always has been, but there's never, like, 40k has always been poor as well, so it's not been really a thing.
Yes.
But now with that interaction, you're moving around the board, like you can create choke points. That's really important. Like I love it. I think it's
just things like woods, making it -1 to shoot through. I found that has such an impact on the shooting phase massively. Just if you've put the terrain in such a way that you have to shoot through it, or you have to move massively out of the way, it then creates decisions that weren't there before. Because it used to be just, I'm going to shoot everything. I either see it or I don't.
Yeah.
There's a grey area now.
So, what I'm trying to say is, I'm basically a huge fan of terrain, and so therefore I want to create a board of terrain or several boards of terrain, and then just play games, just hammer out the games on those boards. And also, if you make the boards have like a setting, and instead of it just being like, I know that you can get some fairly functional terrain fairly quick, but I'm pretty anti that really as an idea. I think that's like, I think you could play some solid games with just unpainted minis, on kind of 3D printed, not even 3D printed terrain, but you could do that. I just don't think it's as fun. So, like, and it is about immersing yourself and having some fun at the end of the day. And no, but even though
it's a miniatures hobby, right?
Yeah,
it's a miniatures hobby.
Yeah, I agree.
You want that the other bit of the game is the terrain, and that's always been the least immersive part, almost, isn't it? When you've had, here's a green table with a hill and some woods.
Yeah. Pete says anything which increases the importance of the movement phase increases the quality of the game, and function terrain does that. So no lines of pipes, says Gunny-O. I wouldn't say that would make anything overly functional. You have to really be aware of like what is useful, like being able to, like, if you're going to have a lip somewhere, make it so that it's like probably can fit a 40mm base on if you're going to have a lip or like a shelf. But a 50mm base, maybe not, but a 40mm base at least. There's like loads of little bits, and I'm sure better terrain makers than me can give you advice on that. But the functionality should be something that you consider more than not more than, as well as the thing. Anyway, that's it.
It's very much a consideration with these boards. When I'm looking at it, I want to make sure that it's functional, but visually looks cool as well. And it isn't just here's essentially an L-shaped ruin, because you could just use some MDF for that.
Yeah.
They look good, Rob.
Thanks, man. Just some custodies.
The red's nice and original.
Why I can't get to War Machine Hordes. Mark says, you got any comments on the Games Workshop win rate chart for AOS? Yeah, I just don't think it's based on enough data for it to be relevant overly. But it looked pretty. Let's say that, shall we? True, the terrain is important. It's why I just can't get to War Machine Hordes, as they just kind of use flat terrain because you have to be super exact. That's what kicked off the story, right? Because obviously, the terrain is ever since we had the fellow on the show talking about Marvel's Crisis Protocol. It was brilliant. Like my terrain has been all in my head since then, and you get like specific terrain sizes in Marvel Crisis Protocol, and then you interact with them in specific ways, right?
Throw a car at someone, yeah. I feel like I just need to get a better understanding of the game, but from what I gather, it actually all has a very specific purpose and is interactive as well, rather than just being you're walking around a city. There's a purpose to it.
Mr. Brick 1986, welcome to the show. I just started making minis 2 days ago. I'm not making any minis. I am painting some minis, and I'm talking with my friend John, and we do this every day at midday. If you guys would ever like to join us and ask us any questions, congratulations on joining the community. It's a fun place to be, and I hope you enjoy your time here. You've got any questions, John?
For you. I've got a question for him. So if there's one figure that you really can't stand for it being an old, dated character. So a good example, Nightbringer is literally the oldest of old models.
Yeah.
Is there one like that you'd want to then kit bash your own version of, and how would you approach that?
Be'lakor, obviously. Be'lakor. Although there's some great like third-party Be'lakors. Shout out to Caster. But I think it would be Be'lakor. I think Be'lakor's got like one of the richest backstories for one of the worst models.
I love the model, but it's just so old and so small now. It stands out as part of the range.
Yeah, and also like Lou Diamond says, Demon Prince is probably Demon Princes / Be'lakor, anything in that range. Because over the past 4 years, we've had the Demon range or the Chaos version, the Chaos range has really evolved. They've done the whole Nurgle release, the Khorne release, the Sinesh release, and the Sinesh release. So you now have all up to date Chaos stuff. Let's not talk about you. What are they called? Demonettes. You're still gross. As are a few of the other Sinesh kits, but a load of them are really nice. And the point is now Chaos Demon's just look, just sweet. But the Demon Princes really let that whole tribe down. But I'm hoping because it is a bit weird. You know, when you go back to the Everchosen, not the Everchosen book, the Wrath of Chaos book or whatever it was called, the one that was in February.
Wrath of the Everchosen.
Yeah, sure. That if you go back to that, they had the Legion of the First Prince in there, so they had Legion of the Chaos Descendant rules and then Legion of the First Prince. So Be'lakor was so important that Be'lakor even got its own allegiance and its own set of rules. So I'm quite excited about non-aligned Chaos Demons in the future, maybe under Be'lakor, or Be'lakor and just other demonic stuff. So they don't have to be quite so nurgly or whatever it might be, and they can maybe explore. That would be really fun.
And then maybe the other extreme as well. At the moment, if you've got a Demon Prince, it's a gribbly demon that looks more cornate, perhaps, than anything else. Maybe leaning into each of the gods a little bit more. But maybe they're going to do things like your Celeste, where you've got a Demon Prince that's a named character to do that, perhaps.
Yeah. But also it translates. I mean, Demon Princes are okay in Age of Sigmar now, which is kind of nice. They're more utility pieces than they are anything else. But in 40k, they feel like units. They're scary, right? Like
They're
that's
great
a thing
for doing stuff.
Yes, absolutely.
I just wish they had more power armor bits to make them look like a Chaos Marine that's gone demonic. There's not quite that crossover because the old, I think it was 3rd edition model they did, where it is literally the backpack is turning into like with the wings, and it looks really cool. And they've never quite achieved that level of kind of like, that's obviously a Space Marine that's gone big.
Yeah, well, I think the problem is it's cross-system, isn't it? Like, it's a 40k and it's an Age of Sigmar Demon Prince. Whereas, like, they would have to go, like, very specific into it, which I think would be fun. There are some great Forge World-looking Demon Princes, some really, really nice ones. Don't get me wrong. And there are some amazing third-party Demon Princes as well. I was on the Creaturecaster store the other day, just, like, salivating about literally everything they make, and then also laughing. I was like, all of you are too pretty for me. Have you ever met a girl in the club?
This is why I don't go.
Have you ever met a girl in the club, John? And she's like giving you the eye, and then you've gone, nah, you're just too pretty for me. Just gonna walk on by.
I feel attacked, Rob, because that's every time I've ever gone to a nightclub.
That's not true. Women love your melon head. Everyone's like, look at our head. It looks so large. I just want to kiss it. That's what they think.
It's alright, I'm growing my hair back just to hide how big my head is, Rob. Very self-conscious of it.
My point is that Creaturecaster stuff looks like stuff that I would love to own, but I would never be able to paint properly, so there's no point in my life. But they are beautiful, and I think Demon Prince is more than anything something that could, and let's always give credit where credit's due. Games Workshop model designers smash it out of the park most of the time. Sometimes they don't, but most of the time they crush it. And being able to see them go to town on the Demon Princes would be super fun. Me and my cousin Kit
It's one of the best-selling kits.
Huh?
It's in the top 100 kits for them, so it still sells.
That's true. Yeah, I bet it still smells.
Smells. Yeah, it does. Especially the Nurgle ones.
And also, I would also be very, very, very excited about updated Beastmen. Like, very excited. I'm always this close to doing a Beastman army anyway, John. Like, if their win rate was like...
Start collecting on the floor there.
Oh my god. If their win rate was like even close to like humanly okay, I'd be like, maybe.
Just give them guns.
Huh?
They just need to do a gun
variant. I reckon you can just do... fuck it, maybe I'll do it. You could just do... You just do a Slaves to Darkness army, but you just make it out of Beastmen. You just be like, these are Marauders, but they're just core. And like, someone's like, you can't do that. I'm like, shut up. That's great.
Don't tell me how to do my hobby. Well, actually, if you read this novel...
They're human Marauders. I'm like, no. Well, now they're goat Marauders. Yeah, welcome to the fucking world. Yeah, this is fine.
Their Chaos Taint is making them more human. It's the other way around.
Yeah. Plus, I just like the idea of evil Mr. Tumnus.
Yes. In fact, here you go. I have a street light that you can put your general next to.
Nice.
In the snow. You have to do them on snow bases then, Rob.
Yeah, but wouldn't that be awesome? And you did like, instead of a demon preacher, you had like a white queen who was like your like Chaos Sorcerer
Turkish
Lord or
delight.
something. Yeah, that'd be so great. What's this? Rob, did you watch the Warhammer Weekly show this week? Yeah, I did. I did watch the Warhammer Weekly show. I tuned in live to check out Mr. Vince Venturella. I talked to the gentleman from Facehammer. It was a good show. I really enjoyed the show. And also, apparently, to Colonel Cabbage in the chat, he's just got his Mirce Gargant, so he's ordered some Gargants from Mirce Miniatures, as opposed to, I think, from Mega Gargants. And apparently, they have a properly sculpted crotch anatomy. I don't know why I've said that on a show where I said I would take the guy with two dicks.
It's got a full-size club, then.
Nice damage. 3. Wow. That's a good question though, John. Thanks for asking it. What about everyone in the Twitch chat? What would you want to change?
Well, I've done a Nightbringer. That's what got me thinking. So I built
Necrons.
No, this is for one of my local guys. Is just getting into Necrons. Funny enough, like everyone seems to be. And I just went, how would I make a Nightbringer that isn't that old thing? I love the model, but it is of its age and it's top heavy. So I was like, right, I need to find something that's got a 40mm base and fits that kind of build. And I just went, here you go, Kurdos Valentin with a scythe on his chair, job done. And it was good fun.
Okay.
So sometimes it's nice to have a problem and then come up with a solution to it. Especially when I don't have to now commit to an entire army of it. I was like, I'll put a Necron head on him, done.
Conversions are sometimes one of the most fun things you can do. Sorry, I'm trying not to sneeze.
That's fine. Apologise about that. Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, that's fun. I've talked about this already a little bit earlier in the week. With the Marine book, Space Marines, I want to get super weird into Dreadnoughts, like super weird into Dreadnoughts.
The only downside to that is you give away bring it down.
Oh no, I don't mean. I'm not talking about tactically. No.
Oh.
No. Like one of my favorite. No, I just freaking love the narrative of Dreadnoughts. Like they're a sarcophagi, but I like all the different models, but also I like how because they're meant to be like super ancient, right? And they've been around a while. You can add loads of bits to them, and you can just make them like these like. I love the monastery. That's not the right word. The Gothic monastery-esque style of
it looks like a bit of a church walking on legs.
Yeah, the Marines have lost a lot of that. Actually, some of them. Actually, that's a good point, Rob. Oh, thanks, Rob. Appreciate that.
Well done. Here? Great question. Fucking hell.
I spent so much time on my own now. No, do you not think some of the most Marine? Oh no, actually, the Blade Guard veterans are pretty good. My point is, I feel like some of the Marine stuff recently maybe has lost some of its like Gothic monastic style to it, which is maybe fine, but I quite like that.
The last release that had that heavily as an influence would probably be the Dark Angel stuff, middle of 6th into 7th, where you get things like the Dark Shroud and the Landspeed of Vengeance, which have got literally a pulpit for a gun, like a gun emplacement, and big bits of actual church on the top of them. Yeah. And a lot of people just went, nah, that's a bit too bonkers for me. So I think they're damned if they do, damned if they don't with it, though. But then you get like the New Sisters stuff, and that has lent heavily into that sort of side of things.
And it looks great. Like, whereas I think the Redemptor's dirty. Like,
they look very clean. They look like the Chad compared to the cool other stuff in my cabinet of Dreadnoughts, because I've got
internet words.
Yeah, I know, right? They're just like, hey, look, I go to the gym, but I never do legs. I'm just constantly just all about the shoulders and the arms.
Why are you attacking everyone in the chat? Why are you attacking everyone at the same time in the chat?
Because I'm the legs guy.
Legs only, no upper body, just really big legs.
This arm is already perfect. Just the left arm. I'm left-handed. I'm an artist. What can I say?
Lou Diamond says, listen, John, I squat 3 times a week. Blade Guard with a skeleton is definitely, like, I already said Blade Guard. Yeah. I gave you Blade Guard, and then I got nothing else.
You said that about the Dreadnoughts. All of my relic Dreadnoughts, so like my Contemptor and my Leviathan, I literally went, right, how much Dark Angels relics can I shove onto this thing to make it look as ridiculous as possible and old as possible?
Well, the reason I want to do the Dreadnought, the reason I want to do the Dreadnoughts build as well for Marines is because I'd like to experiment with doing like realistic painting. You know, where you like, and there's loads of guides for heresy stuff on how to paint that stuff really nice. And so I'd like to do. That's going to be like one of my paint projects probably next year, where I just focus, do the Dreadnoughts, and then just kind of like hit them up. I've already got a few projects to nail out, but I haven't really done like a serious paint job on anything for a long while, and that would be the one I'd like to do. And then just do some cool conversions. I keep seeing people wrap chains around stuff. And one of my really good friends, Pegastix, I don't know if any of you follow her on Instagram, but you should. She's just like cracking at doing conversions, and I'm always like just amazed a little bit that she just like does funky stuff. She's like, oh, that head here, and that sort of thing. So I'd like to work on the mechanics of like, you know, cutting bits off and sticking them on as well. So, and I think
so that it looks like it should be there as well, because there's nothing worse than when people just convert stuff and it's just like, I've stuck this on it. When it has it looks like it's an addition rather than just glued on, can make such a difference, right?
Agreed. Appreciation post for Laura in the chat. She is the GOAT converter. That is absolutely true. She is a attack squad made up of Dreadnoughts. I think might be a bit far. How do Redemptors work, to be honest? Do they put sarcophagi through the Rubicon Primaris? No, I think that they are actually... I think
it's the same sarcophagus, isn't it?
What?
It's the same sarcophagus, I believe.
Is it?
I think proportionately they're the same size.
Oh, so they just put... So the sarcophagus is like a thing, and then they put the thing inside the Dreadnought.
Yeah, because if you open up a Redemptor's front, it's literally just got the little sarcophagus still in it. And all that is that's the pilot and their remains, essentially, and then they just wire that in. It's like just putting a driver in a different car.
Right. Or like plugging me into the stream. Am I a Dreadnought, John? Wait,
I've never seen you and a Dreadnought in the same room, so I'm not sure if that works, but maybe. I don't know.
I like the idea that they're plug and play, though.
Yeah. They're backwards compatible. See, that's clever. That's better than most modern computer game consoles. That it's actually backwards compatible. So.
Yeah. The first narrative, according to DJ Batman, also a big shout out to DJ in the chat, was the new Dreads had a full marine in them, and it was so intensive it would burn through them, which is what the Knight narrative is now. So that's what happens to Knight, and especially Titan drivers. They eventually normally go insane, or they lose their minds and stuff. So it's nice to see they've moved that on. But anyway, yeah, a Dread army would be super sweet, but mainly because it's great opportunities to learn a bunch of techniques, I think.
Yeah.
Like if I wanted to go into doing skin, I would do a completely different army, but I wouldn't do this army. I'd maybe do ogres or something. I don't know. Maybe ogres.
I think you just need to do some ironclads as well, because I hear they're really good dreadnoughts.
There's one in a tournament winner list recently. Don't be like that meme doesn't work anymore, John.
I know. Do you know what's the worst bit? I played against Tibbles, and he brought 3 of them. He brought an all dreadnought list with Gilliman and a couple of characters. It was horrible. It was horrible.
One of my favourite Dreadnoughts artwork was an old 5th Ed, 6th Ed piece. A load of Marine generals standing around a hollow map and a Dreadnought behind them stroking their chin with a power claw. Yeah. The Orcs Dread mobs would be interesting to do as well, but Orcs, it's not hard. Orcs, they're so wacky. The idea of doing Orcs, the kind of paint style that I want to go for is that heresy style. Cult of paint kind of way of painting, which is quite involved, and I feel like the orc stuff, you could probably do it. I want to do Dreadnoughts anyway because I like the narrative. I like the Dread mob stuff as well, and I love what Nick is doing with his Wraithguard and his big knights for Eldar. They look super sweet as well. So I think some of those larger model ranges are fun, but I think Dreadnoughts, especially if you dip into Forge World, ooh baby.
Yes. Ooh, I love the Forge World Dreads.
But Dreadnoughts are just super fun. I'll also play Burst Crawler to an Ironclad, so sorry again. And
well,
the
obviously not using Psychic Awakening Plague Burst Crawlers then.
No.
That was his first mistake.
And Pete in the chat was saying earlier, and I think this is a good point as well, there's loads of opportunity for 3D printed parts on Dreadnoughts. Loads.
Yeah.
Lots of fun stuff, which I think is important. Yeah.
Even just simple things like getting your chapter symbol that will then sit nicely on a curved surface. Just something simple like that, so that it looks intentionally there, rather than just I'm sticking this flat thing onto this curved surface and it just looks a bit odd.
Yeah. I'm with you. I think there's some fun to be had, really. And I think I'm not particularly interested in painting a bunch of marine boys, but doing all the toys. Oh yeah, and I'm never going to be into tanks, John. I'm just not going to be into tanks. I think as a person, just can't get behind it.
On the tabletop, they always seem to struggle for me at the moment. If something's worth more than about 200 points, it's worth too much if it dies. They're often quite a big target. The whole Repulsor Executioner Malarkey, they're so big on the table. If they don't kill something first, they're going to get blown up themselves. Yeah, if my opponent's not got the toys to deal with that, they've made a mistake in their list building.
That's true. I just think I like the idea of dudes, just hammering at each other, if that makes sense. It makes sweaty, and just
it makes it a lot more rewarding as a game, I found, having definitely a push more of infantry with a couple of Dreadnoughts supporting them. I tend to get more success from that, because the amount of times I've killed stuff with just the guys, the foot soldiers, just shooting at something because I'm in tactical and I'm now AP -2 or whatever, makes a massive difference.
I'm just fucking just like I know like we talked about anyway. I really like these games. I was thinking today of trying to like switch off after the show and just taking a
Good
day.
luck.
Well, but no, I mean just like taking a day off. But the things that like I enjoy the most are like these armies and putting them on. I would love to play some games. That would be sweet. But like concept picturing these armies that you're going to create and then realizing that vision is such an attractive quality of it's addictive, but it's also so therapeutic. I don't think there's anything more like there's other stuff like you can get for a run and other things, but I just find it so fun, like cracking on with a project and then bringing it to life. It's just really, really fun, and it's so fun to talk about and explore those ideas, right?
Yes. And sometimes, to me, it's a hobby in its own right. Like, to me, I'm missing at the moment, because Battlescribe is busy doing its thing, updating the data as quick as they can. Without that, I'm literally twitching going, I can't sit and just bash out a list. And I feel kind of, that's something I do quite subconsciously that I didn't even realise. I will sit there and I'll design 2 or 3 lists in it, like an afternoon, just to kill some time, because I'm just trying to think and like work out what could work.
Yeah, Battlescribe
and that in itself is a little game, right?
Yeah,
and that's just
not being updated is horrific. Horrific. Writing lists the other day, not on Battlescribe, I was like, nah. Like, if they don't, and I mean this is not hyperbolic, like, if they don't update Battlescribe, and the Games Workshop app is nowhere near, like, I might just be out of 40k. Like, I'll be like running to, like, what army playing next, Rob? I'm like, okay, let's see which ones left are in Battlescribe. Like, do you know what I mean? As the new books come out, I'm like, not Death Guard anymore, not Death Watch, they've had a book, not Eldar, whatever the situation be. I'm like, what have they not released? That's the army that I'll be playing. Because if you have to build lists on pen and paper for this whole edition, would be a nightmare. Anyway.
I'll just do that sensible thing and build a list, and then just go, right, that's the list, I'm stuck with that now.
Huh?
Just like build a list of your custodians and be like, right, that's what I've got built. I'll just keep using that same list, because then I don't have to redesign
it. What if Games Workshop stops Battlescribe? Okay, I'm going to answer the question. No, I'm not going to answer the question. I'm going to ask the Twitch chat the question. What if Games Workshop stop Battlescribe, and as of yet, I know they've said they're going to be, but they say, Battlescribe, no. And we have no alternate army builder yet. I know they've said they're going to have one, but currently they haven't produced one. So, like, I mean, what? Like, honestly, John, are you doing that on pen and paper all the time?
So my stuff I've been doing. So with the Marines, I've literally got a spreadsheet, and I will put in just the cost of each of the units. It takes me twice as long, and I'm sat there with the book in front of me because I tried using the app. Just it's not an option. And yeah, I remember the days before all this app malarkey. It was a spreadsheet, or dare I say it, paper and a pencil, because you kept having to rub stuff out. And
you're old.
It can be nice because you've got a physical realization of your list, but nah, I've kind of moved on from that.
Yeah,
there's a lot of things I did as a teenager I don't want to go back to doing.
I'm not going to answer. I'm not going to ask. Undead Ben says I do army list with pen and paper, but that's absolutely fine because obviously he just plays
I think it's a preference thing, isn't it? So
huh?
It's a preference thing.
I don't know anyone else who does
really
like. Maybe there's like another app out there. Like, is that Army Builder still a thing? An app? Maybe they have everything updated. Like, come on, Battlescribe. I actually subscribe to Battlescribe as well. Like, I pay them money. Like, because them and Wahapedia are one of the two content creators that I like financially support. So if you support me as a financial dude, I want you to know that I spend some of my personal money on both of those two places because I think that they're more than deserving of financial restitution for what you're able to get out of them. I find them so functional. And if there was a subscribe option to War Scroll Builder, even though it's free, which is brilliant, that would be my first. That would be my number one. I'd run to that.
I think the legal area for things like Battlescribe is quite murky for Games Workshop to even get close to them, because the app itself is not actually doing anything wrong, and it's not. That's the bit you're paying for, is the actual Battlescribe app when you sub. The data is kept completely separate, and that's a community-driven thing that a bunch of dudes are just compiling together, and they're not doing it for any profit. They're doing it just as a selfless thing to help the community.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So I think that being kind of so separate from the app, I think makes it a lot harder for them to just go, right, we're shutting that down.
What, for Battlescribe?
Yeah, so I don't think Games Workshop could get near it, personally. I'm not a legal expert, though, but that's my layman's understanding of it.
You gave me all that advice about the bird in the bush.
Jesus Christ, Rob. That was a secret conversation. Oh, jeez.
What the hell? Next you'll be telling me you're not a doctor, that rash. Anyway. I started working on Army Builder dice app for 40k since bar on Saturday. I know how the structure of the logic would work, but stopped because I know nothing that the legal standards required to make it safe from Games Workshop. That's fun. Wait, didn't they... that's sad, also bar on Saturday, but thanks for looking at it. Didn't they get rid of the Dice Roller app?
Yeah, because it was an archaic one that they'd released 7th edition, and it was only when people started going, oh, this is a Games Workshop licensed one, and then I think the guys that actually did it had lost their... Because you obviously pay for the license to use the Games Workshop IP and stuff. It had lapsed, which is why it got taken off the Play Store, I think it was.
Is that...
Which was it?
But it was a really good app.
It was great. Playing Orcs, it made me not hate playing Orcs, because I could just go, right, 150 dice, done.
What is it? That's outrageous. Is there another dice rolling app? Does anyone know that?
There is, but not similar
Officially
enough
sanctioned
to
one.
it. And that as well, because when it was tournaments, it was always very kind of like, how can I prove this isn't just me making a dice app that only rolls 6s?
Because I played Nick the other day, and before new lockdown, and honestly, I was like, I love these Orc boys, but this is taking the piss. I had so many dice to roll. And I was like, at one point I was doing it in 20s, and then I was like, maybe I'll do it in 40, and I was like...
Yeah, it's not fun though, is it?
Nah. I used to enjoy that. I'm like, I've got 180 attacks! And now I'm like, oh, fuck that. 2 attacks. That's what I want, damage 20.
That's why a long while back I stopped by playing with my aggressors. Not because they weren't doing anything on the table, but because I was fed up of rolling the fucking dice.
Yeah, again, I only want to roll physical dice. So I don't want anyone to think that I'm advocating for all digital dice all the time. Not at all. I want to roll physical dice. It's my favourite bit. I want to just occasionally throw a cheeky Lumineth dice in there. Also, shout out if anyone has got any squig dice knocking around. I wouldn't mind a few of those in my pot. But I just can't be asked for rolling a billion dice anymore, at all. And that actually impacts my army list writing as well. Which is why I was trying to get away from as many Orc boys, but then I tried that and it just doesn't really work.
Nah, it doesn't.
Doesn't work at all. Pete says, I still have the Assault Dice app on my iPad. I paid for it, but if I ever get to change my iPad, I won't be able to reinstall it. No, Pete, no. Yeah. I like the idea of Pete in 20 years, playing
brings out the iPad.
So at a club, some young kids what's that, boomer? This is an iPad of the past. Before Apple took over the Northwest, this. I got a massive 30mm dice for my Gargants. I saw that, Colonel Cabbage. Hilarious that he ordered some massive dice. Going to crush some minis. Boys Before Toys, the Rule of Orcs for 6 editions now. Yeah, absolutely. Boys are always just the best bit. Oh no, Pete, I'm so sorry that Apple's going to destroy your dice rolling app. I use the dice rolling app anyway when it's lots of dice, because you have to. Otherwise, it's just you're boring everyone in that situation.
Rob, you got to do some push-ups.
Yeah, I can't see them because I've got a different. I'll do it in a minute. Okay, do it like this. If this helps everyone else. So anyone in the chat got any questions? Anyone in the chat got any questions? These are push-ups, man. Shut up. Look at that.
Oh, shout out to James, by the way. Look what came in the post yesterday. I'll just stand up.
Oh, yeah, your Super Series t-shirt. Looks nice.
God, I'm disappearing. I'm wasting away.
Yeah, it's really cool. Look. It's a good tee. It's a good tee. I like the finger. It's really fun. I also thought maybe this could be like a Super Series thing where we just do 2 fingers. You can't see this, John. I'll wait for you to see it. Because
I've seen you do that before.
One blue, one red.
It's just you need to paint your hands or wear gloves.
Yeah. Wear gloves when I'm on the stream would be so funny. Super Series.
Super Series, just in case.
Uh, Fantasy Flight has a cool Star Wars dice app. It uses proprietary dice, but the app is slick. What does proprietary dice mean?
They've got very fancy symbols for specific purposes in the game, so it only works for it. So it's what it is. Same with Marvel's got its own fancy dice as well.
Marvel?
Yeah, the Marvel Crisis Protocol's got its own. I think the D10s, but with different symbols on them. I'm like, cool. What are these? They're not D6s.
Yeah. Well, if anyone knows of a good D6 app for rolling dice, I'd like to know, especially multiples. That's the most important part. I don't know if there is another version out there. Not that it's super relevant, right?
There was one that was for doing 40k games, even, where it was like you'd be going threes to hit and stuff, and it had that as part of it. I'll have to look it up. There was
that says get smaller dice, but
I'm
not going to do that.
I found when you go for smaller dice, like the old Games Workshop, like 12mm D6s you could get in those little tubs.
Yeah.
That size dice. I used to use them all the time because they were in all the box sets. You had tons of them, these little white ones. Whenever I rolled them, because they didn't seem to have enough weight to them, I'd roll them, they'd just always roll really inconsistently. So I hated them.
Okay. All right, yeah, I didn't like those dice either, personally. Oh, yeah. Apparently XD6 on Android is an app. There we go. XD6 on Android. So, thanks for that. I will check that out later. Surely someone's done a YouTube review on dice apps. There's got to be a thing.
It's also on iOS as well. He says as his phone's covering it. Yeah. Yeah. I think that's one I've used before. Yeah, handy.
You just have to open TTS on your tablet and roll dice on there. That makes sense. Just stick 100 dice in a bucket and shake and drop. Lol, orcs hack. I don't think that works too well, to be honest. Although, actually, the board size is getting smaller. That little area at the side now where you can roll your dice is nice.
Yes, I put all of my dead models in there, so it's normally quite full.
Wait, time to make a TSN-themed dice roller with integration to your stream so you can use them in the overlay. Halalex, yes. How we do that? No idea. So, that helps. Ben has a question.
Wouldn't that be funny if we had more app developers than GW?
Well, I mean, what, 2? Yeah. We double the team. How many have you got? We got 2. Dudo Shotgate says, I now exclusively use Lumineth and Silverneth dice, all mixed in together like some kind of lunatic. Do you know what? Actually, someone said something to me the other day. I'm one of those people who've got like a smorgasbord of dice, just all sorts of different coloured dice all the time. And one of the things that someone mentioned the other day was like, oh, it'd be much easier for you to read through those dice if all your dice were the same. And I was like, oh, is that true? Yeah. Probably is true, isn't it? Like, that's a good idea.
And I have mine in 10s as well, so for quickness, I can be like, right, there's that batch of 10, and I just know that's the right numbers.
Say that there. Say it again.
So, like, I've got like 30 in my dice tray already prepared, and it's 10 of each colour. And I just know, right, there's 10 dice, and I just pick them up without having to really think.
Okay. Yeah, I think having them all the same colour would be really, really useful, but I just don't have them all the same colour, which is sad.
If only we knew somewhere that sold like branded dice.
Oh yeah, we've got some sale, but that's not why I'm bringing it up.
No, I'm just thinking you can just buy have some of them, Rob. Just here you go. Here's 60 dice that all look the same.
I've got dice I really like. Like there's like a Zinch dice that pops up sometimes, and sometimes it's 6, and I'm like yes, and sometimes it's 1. I'm like fucking Zinch. They've got their own little characters, like little stories that they tell you when they roll, and like it's nice and you've collected them from like I've got this one from this place, or I've got this one from this place, or this guy gave me this one, or this one was from a friend, or whatever. I've
got my Swedish AOS ones, and then whenever I'm rolling priority back in the day, like to C's, I'd be like I'm rolling. If I got a 6, I'd shout moose, and people are like, oh, John's got his moose dice out again. Well done.
See, yeah, right? Wouldn't that be fun? But also it reminds me of, have you watched Hook, the film?
Have I watched Hook? No. Yes, of course I have, Rob.
If anyone hasn't watched Hook, it stars the aforementioned Robin Williams, is obviously great, playing Peter Panning. But the most...
Dustin Hoffman.
Yeah, but the most important person in there is Toodles, Yeah, because Toodles keeps running around going, I've lost me marbles. I've lost my marbles. But his marbles are really just all of his good memories. Yeah? And that's what my bag of dice are like. It's like a bag of nice memories.
Didn't your dice get stolen at one point from the studio?
A couple of years ago, but then I started to redo my memories. So I've got my new memories now in my bag of dice. So they're super fun. And that's really nice.
Yeah.
Musa Carla says, I just picked up my pink Brishammer dice. Yeah, they're really nice. Talking to the dice. Yeah, mixed dice aren't great. Also, odd numbers of dice so that you can count them out every time is the worst. Yeah, I mean, I've got like a ton of dice, I think. So I don't think I have like a cap. But maybe making my games more efficient, I might get a boring set of just all the same dice. That sounds boring, though. That's not fun. Do you know what? It's just because everyone, when I first started playing Warhammer, all the cool kids, and by cool kids I mean Mark Wildman, so not cool at all, big nerd, they just had a bunch of like different dice. And I was like, well, I'm jealous now.
Yeah.
I want to be part of that gang. And when you trade dice with someone, it's awesome. It's like, do you want some of my dice? And they're like, yeah, I want some of my dice. Like, we'll be best friends now. It's like, yeah, basically best friends. And it's nice. Do you not think that, John?
Yeah, well, I've given Honest Wargamer dice to everyone I've played at events like in the last 3 years, and it's been awkward because now I actually have something stupid like 16 rather than 30 of them now, which makes my problem even worse. I've got less matching dice.
All right, well, I don't really want to go. Like, we've been here a lot longer than we should. I think John needs to go.
Do I? I think I've got a coffee date, actually.
Have you?
Yeah.
Well,
I can actually go and see people, which is something I've got to make the most of for now, right? Before it disappears.
Yeah. We're getting big lockdown next week, but I've actually really enjoyed just hanging out. I might do longer. I might just do a longer stream next week where we just hang out and hobby and paint, if that's okay with you guys. I haven't got very far, but you guys can see I think I've done all of my Custodes booties, so I've just got the bikes to do next, which is pretty fun.
Well, I built 2 bits of terrain. I built a lamppost and a like traffic light. That was as far as I got before I got bored.
Okay, all right. Well, I might get a bunch
progress
of
progress.
Because the next time we're going to do a show like that will probably be Wednesday. Because on Monday we've got the results show, Age of Sigmar results show. We're going to be watching the meta, and then we've got obviously the adjacent show, and then we're all going to be playing Baldur's Gate on Sunday. Tomorrow's the birthday show, so. It's pretty good all day, all around.
I'm not working next Wednesday, so I could set myself up to actually paint.
Okay, so we're going to try doing a longer stream next week.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
It means I'd actually get some painting done, which is something I've not done much recently. So
no.
I've got to paint those Deathwing Terminators before they become shite again.
Can't you continue to stream without John? I think I'm actually off also to go get a coffee. There isn't many opportunities for me to leave the office. Recently, so I'm going to take that opportunity with both hands. But we will carry on another day. I might even just come back later. Who knows? I'm just enjoying this hobby today. But yeah,
I'll hit
anyway,
later if you're about, and if I'm about, I'll pop on with you.
Okay. Well, anyway, podcast guys, thanks for listening to our ramble today. It's a shame that Simon wasn't on, but hopefully we'll catch him next week because Simon's a super talented gamer who's going to talk Cities of Sigmar.
Mm-hmm.
And thank you to everyone else watching on Patreon, of course, and thanks to everyone who's watched us live. It's been super nice that you've been supporting us, and like I said on the show, 3 years has been wonderful. Being on the journey with you has been super fun. So it's been a time, and I've loved it. So thank you for just being really, really great.
It is the friends you've made along the way entirely, and I know that sounds really lame to say, but it's totally that.
It is. Also, do check out, do keep your eyes peeled for the Only Jams. Content coming sometime soon. But as always, thank you for joining us, Wargamer. Please stay hydrated, and don't forget, leave some comments on why you don't like the priority roll, and I can tell you that you're wrong. See you guys soon. Bye.